Welcome back to the Arabian Business SME Forum, our virtual event designed to help small and medium-sized enterprises navigate the challenges as the region looks ahead to 2021 and hopefully a post-COVID landscape. I'm Scott Armstrong, the Editor-in-Chief of Arabian Business. And for those who tuned in for our first session on finance and cash flow, thanks for joining us. If you missed it, you can still watch again. And thanks for being here for our second session, which asks the question, how do we find new customers in a time of crisis? Hosted with the support of Dubai SME, I'm joined today by three experts in their field. Kerry, who heads up Communications and Partner Engagement at Noon.com. Tasha Hatherall-Shawe, who is founder and CEO of TishTash, the fiercely female digital marketing and public relations agency. And finally, Halima Jumani, Director of Operations at Kibsons, who basically feed my family. In our first session, we heard how SMEs make up 99% of the UAE's economy. So I'll start by asking each of you your perspective of 2020 through the lens of SMEs. Where do you think we were coming into the year? We've had the obvious COVID-19 impact, and where you think the sector is now. Halima, if we may, we'll start with you. What's Kibsons' journey this year?
Thank you very much for allowing me to, give my views on this one, because in general, this has been a tough year for everyone. That's not a secret. And definitely SMEs are the ones who suffered the most. At Kibsons, we were slightly lucky because of the industry we are in. And, we have taken that responsibility on board to support the SMEs wherever we possibly could, keeping in mind that they had to match the ethos at Kibsons. But so we kind of pulled along and tried to uplift a few other SMEs as we could, but that doesn't change the fact that this was a tough year for all.
Ellen, same question. Just tell us, how has Noon's trajectory changed this year? Has coronavirus changed your business plans or accelerated business plans?
I would say pretty much like with everyone, it's changed business plans across the board. For Noon as well, it accelerated some plans that we had in place in the pipeline that would potentially have gone live much later. So, for instance, early lockdown, we launched our grocery platform, Noon Daily, which is like competition with Kibsons here, I guess. But we launched our grocery platform in April. And then following that, we launched Now, which is our on-demand platform, in May. Those two launches were accelerated 100% because of the situation that we found ourselves in, as a reaction to what customers were needing at that time. So people were kind of locked in their homes. Their movements were restricted. They needed more avenues to be able to order essentials, groceries, food products, all that kind of thing. So we definitely pushed those two platforms through quicker than we would normally have done because of that.
So, Tash, you'd have been working with lots of SMEs this year. What's been the prevailing story, or what's been the prevailing learning from it?
Yeah, and from my perspective, I'm talking from two sides here. So obviously I own an SME, and I obviously in COVID we launched SME Rise Collective in kind of response to the needs, obviously, which we'll talk about a bit later. I think if I look at 2020, I feel like when we entered 2020, we were very much like it was the year of hope. We were all really, really excited about Expo, and I mean, my business, we were having the best year yet. A lot of my friends and clients who have SMEs were having a great year. And then it just shows how quickly things can change because COVID hit. And as we know, most SMEs live month to month as well. All these, it's great to have a year of cash flow in the bank, but how many SMEs actually have that? So I think, it went from very positive to very negative very, very quickly. And obviously, no one was prepared for this. And so hence why, a lot of businesses had to pivot. Don't like that word very much anymore, but we had to pivot and change very kind of quickly. I think it's definitely been one of those where definitely the Corona coaster is real.
Back in September, Arabian Business carried out a poll, and we asked SMEs what help did they need the most. And what we found was interesting was actually the top answer was marketing drive. 50% said marketing drive. Do you guys subscribe to that view? And I'm going to start with you, Tash, particularly through the work of SME Rise Collective. How vital has marketing been this year?
Yeah, I think the reason why SME Rise Collective came about is obviously when COVID hit, I was very, like everybody, the first couple of weeks we were in shock. We didn't know what was going on. And then marketing and communications is usually the first area that businesses cut when we're in a situation like this. And obviously, yet we know it's the most vital. And so the SME Rise Collective came from the sort of understanding that we knew that businesses would cut marketing, but it was actually very vital. Obviously, as a collective, through my connections and obviously in the industry, we came together and we asked SMEs to apply for marketing packages because we knew that this was going to be so vital to their survival. So we had over 3,000 SMEs apply for marketing packages during probably the first sort of 6 weeks of kind of lockdown and COVID. And to date, we've provided 180 with 3-month packages of marketing and PR. So, definitely, for us, we wanted to fill that gap, which was the difference between businesses surviving or not, because it is. And also we spent a lot of time doing education with the SME community, because I think the whole digital world as well, it is, a lot of people didn't even have a digital strategy. I mean, obviously, the other guys on the panel, they're more come from that world, but there were so many SMEs that didn't have a website, that didn't have any ability to do work, to bring revenue in during lockdown. So I think, in terms of kind of helping people, show them that a lot of the things they could learn and do themselves as well were really important, to kind of empower them to help themselves. But no, definitely marketing, communications, it really it is vital, but sadly we are the area that gets cut out. So that is why I wanted to champion an initiative which meant that SMEs got marketing communications to help them get through this time and kind of thrive again.
So Tash, yeah, we'll talk again about marketing and it being cut or not. But if I can ask Halima here, bring you in. Kibsons, you've had a massive year this year. On that journey, have there been times when marketing has been either the key to success or has been the key to avoiding failure or getting yourself out of the situation that you hadn't foreseen?
Definitely. I believe marketing is just absolutely so critical to SMEs, even more so because unlike big corporates, SMEs don't have big budgets for marketing, so they need to come up with very smart and efficient ways in how they choose to spend their limited marketing budget. So in terms of introducing their brand to the consumers, reminding consumers of the brand and its value proposition, it's so important. And actually, I think personally that Natasha did a fab job because, with her SME Rise Collective, she helped both the marketing industry that was struggling as well as so many local brands at the same time. So it was kind of genius.
I'm going to go back to something Tash was talking about there as well, Ellen, because she was saying that Noon and Kibsons, you're both digital entities, so that perhaps gives you a slightly stronger place to communicate from. At Noon.com, as a pure play digital entity, have there been any marketing lessons that you've learned in 2020? Obviously, you couldn't take anything for granted. And are there any key learnings or lessons that you could pass on to SMEs that they can learn from the things that were successful for you?
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree with what Halima has said about you have to continue marketing, and Tash as well, that's the first thing that people do look to cut, but it's so important to keep connecting and keep communicating with not only your customers but your partners as well, to let them know that you're doing okay, that you're still operating. I think that's what we learned most this year, is to keep communicating, to keep telling people that we're out here, that we're still, our delivery drivers are still serving you. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to tell people about the new mechanisms that we put in place. So we started pushing contactless delivery. So no more cash on delivery was still available, but we could do online prepayments. we could ensure that your delivery was dropped off at the door without anyone even talking to you. So pushing different kind of mechanisms that are going to make people feel more comfortable in times like that via communication was really important to us. There was a video that we did quite early on, which illustrated and detailed all of the different kind of sanitization aspects of the facility, of the warehouse, the PPE that's used. And I think that was really important to get out there. So 100%, I would say honest communication, fast communication for your partners, for your customers. That's what we've learned over the past few months that is really essential for surviving things like this.
I'm going to bring Tasha's statement back to the table as well, which is that all too often we see marketing is the first thing that businesses cut in a crisis. Again, I'll come back to you, Halima, on this. You have been on a very strong journey of adapting, not pivoting, Tash, adapting your business model to find new customers. How vital has marketing been in actually trying to find new customers, particularly in a crisis?
So given the fact that we all agree that marketing is extremely important, during COVID, Kibsons was in an unusual situation that we actually did not need marketing. And Natasha and I were going through this conversation about whether or not to even renew our marketing contract at that point. However, the gas leak in July quickly reminded me that good and bad times are part of the life cycle, and we need marketing in both situations regardless.
How did you use marketing in that experience when you said the gas leak? That would be a critical time to communicate with your customers. How did you use it effectively? I vividly remember that when we internally found out about the gas leak and we were still dealing with the shock ourselves, my first instinct was to go out and have that honest and open communication with our consumers, which is why I was nodding my head when Ellen was speaking, that I owed it to them. It was the first thing on my mind. I mean, I had to sort of balance and control my emotions and yet make sure that there was a clear, transparent message. And thank you, Natasha, for helping us out in doing that, because I was a bit out of shape mentally. But yes, so the thing is that when consumers understand what's really going on behind the scenes, today's times, they actually appreciate it. And yes, it's important for a business like Kibsons because, you know, we are here to provide them the best in terms of both service quality, but also when we speak of ethics and sustainability, that comes through when we speak and communicate, isn't it? I'm going to bring Ellen back here because I know Tash will be champing at the bit to talk about this. But Ellen, just from Noon.com's perspective, keeping faith with marketing, I seem to have seen yellow everywhere for months now. So has staying visible paid off for Noon.com?
Yeah, 100%. Again, it's increasing that trust factor. It's communicating constantly with your customer, telling them what's going on, and our retail partners. Obviously, this is about SMEs, but I mean, Noon was created to provide local businesses with a platform to expand their business online. So that's literally why we're here. It's why we were created. So we have to keep communicating everything that we're doing so that people are feeling confident in us, that they're still happy to let us, you know, help them expand their businesses. With regard to all of the yellow that you've been seeing, 100, yeah, for sure. Everyone knows that I think you have to see a brand 3 or 4 times before you actually then convert or something like that. If you're anywhere in Dubai, you've seen Noon about 75 times before you've gone to your destination. It's helped us greatly with the sales that we've had on, but mostly, honestly, with the launches that we've had. So having Noon Daily splashed around Dubai when we were ready to go big has really helped with education of what that product is, that it is a grocery platform, that it is groceries delivered to your doorstep. We had to put that message out there and put it out there in many different forms. So with social media, with paid digital, with billboards, we had to hit as many kind of touch points as possible in a short period of time so people could quickly understand what we do and why this product has been launched. So yeah, I think constant communication for us, yellow everywhere, is a happy world to be in.
Tash, it is grossly unfair of me to keep you till the end to answer a very fine point that you raised in the first place. Communication and marketing is in your very DNA. It's what you do day in, day out. What are you telling clients, and what have you been telling people through the work of the SME Rise Collective about just how vital it is? And when you were talking about those 3-month grants, maybe you can give us some examples of how it really has helped.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing, which is completely in line with what everyone else has said, is, you know, it was not the time to remain silent. I mean, yeah, I think we all had days where we probably cried on the carpet and felt a bit sorry for ourselves. But then it was a case of, you know, even if your business was not operational, we were very clear to clients, you have to be communicating and finding ways to resonate with your customers, because obviously, you know, if you may not be trading today, but you'll be back, and you need to keep them on the journey with you. So I think that was the kind of key thing I said to everybody: just don't be silent, stay visible. I think storytelling was really, really important, and like, I guess, you know, in line with obviously showing behind the scenes and having visible spokespeople as well, I felt worked really, really well. And one of the key things, you know, that we've kind of seen through this is that everyone's responded so well to, you know, personalities, actually. Like, so in terms of, we're very much moved towards, with our clients, developing personal brands and getting people out there as faces, because people wanted, you know, raw, authentic, honest conversation, and that's really, really resonated with everybody. So I think, you know, definitely there was a shift in terms of the type of messaging and the type of storytelling we were doing. But no, definitely for everybody, particularly obviously digitally, we were very, very, you know, you have to keep talking to your customers, find new ways to engage. You know, even the things, you know, with Kibsons that we done, we started doing coffee with Kibsons. It's a monthly initiative we do where we have coffee with Halima it's online, and we invite all of her customers, also media and influencers. And I think it's one of those, probably the most, we get the greatest feedback about that, because everyone loves seeing Halima and hearing what's coming up, what's been behind the scenes. Obviously they're used to their blue boxes, but they're kind of, you know, they still like to kind of see a face behind it. So initiatives like that have worked really, really well. So yeah, I kind of just think, you know, yeah, we had to not be silent.
To be clear, I cry on the carpet most days. I wanted to just explore a little bit more what you were saying there, Tash, about the key strategies that have been helping and what's been most effective. But I'll throw the question back to Halima. With that particular focus on marketing, what would you have told if you could go back in time at the start of the Kibsons journey, or go back in time to the start of this year, with a kind of marketing perspective, what would you tell yourself to do?
Do the right thing. Don't worry about profit or losses. Consumers should have good value for money. Don't take advantage of your consumers. And actually, frankly, nothing has changed at Kibsons. We said this to ourselves day one, and we say this to ourselves today. Because, you know, frankly speaking, the best marketing strategy for me personally is customer satisfaction itself. I mean, there's no point in spending on marketing when you cannot deliver on the quality or the promise or the value promise that you give to your customers. So customer retention is a huge part of our marketing strategy. And that requires, I think, a customer-focused team and a deep sense of empathy for all stakeholders involved.
That's a good point, because there have been conversations about the role of marketing, particularly in the middle of a crisis and coronavirus, because basically you're trying to persuade people to part with cash when, you know, everybody's going through difficult times. Ellen, what kind of advice have you been given, either, you know, your partners or your merchants at Noon.com, or have there been any core principles that you've held to during this period?
I think similar to Halima, being honest, just trying to be as honest as possible. We've tried to make sure that people know we're here, that we're still available. We have had many SMEs sign up, again, not to use that word pivot that everyone hates, but when they've shifted, perhaps, it's been, our seller support team have been working overtime, helping getting new businesses signed up to be able to sell on new. So being honest, communicating, offering support where stakeholders need it, connecting with consumers, showing them what's going on really behind the scenes. There's an initiative that we started mid kind of lockdown period called Invisible Heroes, which focused solely on our frontline workers, as we call them. So our delivery agents, our warehouse workers, the people who are really behind the scenes, but without them, we wouldn't be able to survive. We wouldn't be operating, and customers wouldn't get packages, and SMEs wouldn't be able to sell to customers to get them there. So we're really proud of that initiative, and sharing stories of different individuals with just a small testimonial, kind of telling our world about these people. It really resonated and engaged with consumers. So I think that was a really nice kind of angle that we saw work really well.
Tash, as a communications expert, I mean, how much is it about the message, and how much is it about the medium? And if we're trying to give, the practical advice that we give to SMEs, and you will be giving to SMEs through the work of the SME Rise Collective, what platforms should they be focusing on? Or is it very much just boiling it down to you have to have the right message and then the platform follows?
I mean, ultimately, the way it transpires, for example, the majority of what we were revising was very digitally focused, be it online PR or social media. So, because obviously we didn't have things like print, sort of newspapers, magazines at the time. So obviously channel selection was, in a way, it was kind of very, and everyone was spending, I think, the 60%, more kind of online consumption engagement rates with influencers were doubling and tripling. So in terms of that, that digital space, that was where you need to be. But ultimately, we did advise a lot of our clients to completely change their messaging. We spent a lot of time with each of them. We found the things that media and customers wanted to hear about were very, very different. Generally, a lot of it wasn't, ultimately a lot of businesses have product and want to sell, but a lot of them, we focused it around on, if there were small businesses, supporting local was so important. So we wanted to get that message through everything that we did. Community initiatives, people wanted to, I guess that warm and fuzzy kind of, people wanted to, do things which supported the wider community and that, spread a bit of kind of good and cheer. I think, as I said, there's storytelling aspect as well. So, rather than just product push, it was about getting people bought into your brand, your journey. So that's why, that did need to shift. And even now, obviously, we're still in COVID times, but we're coming out. But we're seeing such a different change in strategies for clients now, and going forward. I mean, one of the greatest, sort of areas we're really seeing demand in is the whole personal brand. And as I said, building, profiles for founders, for business owners. People really do buy people. And so now that's, in terms of one of our greatest areas, is showcasing entrepreneurs, business owners, and really getting them out there telling their story, because people like to see the face behind the brands.
If we look to wrap up this session, let's look forward to 2021. I think we could all agree that we'd love to retire 2020 already. What do you see ahead for 2021? Are there any particular pitfalls? Are there any particular opportunities? What would you be doing yourselves, or what advice would you have for SMEs when they plan ahead for 2021?
Look, we are definitely on rough seas here. Until there is a vaccine, it's very difficult to predict what the future holds as such. And, there are so many variables that have an impact on the upcoming unfolding days, in my opinion. So number of cases, restrictions on travel, tourism. Yes, we have to remain optimistic, but we also have to be practical and cautious for the sake of those we love and the businesses that we need to protect. I think what really drives success for a business today and going forward is agility, responsiveness, and most importantly, to be aware of the business climate, and I think to have a very deep understanding of what consumers are really looking for in the given economic times.
Tash, there is a degree of confidence coming back into Dubai in particular. I mean, internationally, we've got the news of the vaccine. The UAE has had a very different pandemic to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So with that rising confidence, what's your message to clients? Should they already be looking at their marketing plans for next year so that they can, get ahead and make the most of opportunities?
Yeah, and I do think it is, from what I'm seeing, as I've got a lot of SMEs that I talk to all the time. I feel people are feeling optimistic right now. I mean, I think most of us do feel very, very lucky with the way that the UAE has handled this, and in terms of particularly when, we look to other countries. So I think we are seeing recovery. I mean, obviously it's not in every industry. Obviously tourism very badly hit, but in a lot of industries, we are seeing, we are bouncing back quite quickly. But obviously everyone is doing that very, very cautiously. So, but I think there is definitely, in terms of, next year, Expo back again, what new opportunities that kind of, or what that looks like now. But I definitely think, we should be looking now. I mean, we're doing for all of our clients 2021 planning now. And it is really, really important to look at that. But also, obviously, the things that before, obviously, I think most people have fast forwarded their digital strategy. So, there's lots of even just new technologies like TikTok. Obviously, we used to all think it was kind of like more for younger audiences. I mean, I'm still not going on there. I'm still way too old for that. But I'm kind of like, we're actually seeing the demographics, are changing, and they are getting a bit older for that as well. So maybe we should all be using our cleaning products on TikTok and, doing other stuff. But no, definitely, I do think that the storytelling, the personal branding, getting kind of, and that really honest, authentic conversation, really, really in everything you do, whatever channel you use, is kind of key to kind of, continuing on next year.
No one needs to see me do a TikTok challenge. Ellen, just to kind of wrap up, I was speaking to someone on an earlier forum, and they were saying that e-commerce is very much here to stay. Essentially, when we get to the other side with the vaccine and the other side of coronavirus, bricks and mortar are not going to come back and fill the same space that they once did. It's very much now e-commerce is the way forward. So with that in mind, what would you say to businesses when they're, from a marketing perspective or even just from a business perspective, looking ahead to 2021? If they've not got e-commerce in that toolbox, should they be changing their strategies now?
Yes, absolutely. We really don't think that brick and mortar is going to go away. It's never going to just disappear. But I do think that all businesses it would be good for them to embrace this omni-channel sense of shopping. And that obviously then means getting yourself onto an e-commerce platform and having that there as well. We, during the times of lockdown, we worked super hard to bring so many retailers from the Dubai Mall onto Noonap so that we could help them to reach digital audiences and fulfill their orders that way as well. I really think that most businesses in that kind of sphere, in that brick and mortar world, should definitely start embracing omni-channel shopping more. Look at all of the different digital channels that are around there that they can use and they can utilize to connect with consumers and with partners as well. It's super important. And there is this community being built around SMEs. So, and this works with e-commerce too. I think we have every year, we haven't been able to do it this year, but most years we have something called the Seller Summit, where our founder and our leaders kind of go along and we invite all of our SMEs, our retail partners to this, and we celebrate achievements. We talk about what's coming up, what's next, and find out from them what we're not doing right. Obviously, because of COVID, that's been a bit tricky this year, but I think it benefits SMEs to be part of that community as well as it benefits them being part of a brick and mortar community. There's lots that can be learned from each that can help people drive success and grow their business hugely.
I'm going to throw one last final question out to particularly Tash and Halima, but because I'm going to build off something that Alan just said there, which I find really interesting. And community. Tash, I'll begin with you because you've been building community with the SME Rise Collective. How important is it now for businesses to communicate now with their community? It seems like something we always used to know, and perhaps we forgot, and then coronavirus has made us remember that we do need to look at our consumers and our customers as family, as community.
Yeah, and okay, it may sound a bit cheesy, that we are stronger together, but that's one of the things that I've seen through this. I've rallied the whole of the PR and marketing industry. And my view is there's plenty of work for us all to go round. So I've spent all of my lockdown with going to all the different agencies saying, can you spare a bit of time? Can we help? And I feel like in terms of that, as well as so my own personal industry, it's been very, very powerful, and everyone was very, very willing to step up and support each other, which I loved. And also in terms of the SMEs, and we've done quite a few social things now online for all of our SMEs as well. Obviously, we couldn't help everybody who needed a marketing package, although to be honest, I thought if I could help 10, I'd be super happy, but 180 I'm over the moon with, and the testimonials and stories we've got about how it really did save businesses. But we have built a really, really lovely community with the SMEs. A lot of them met through we did a lot of training courses for them that were free to help them upskill digitally as well. So I think the people and I think the one when we come through this, I do hope, I'm a firm believer in collaboration and the power is all together. So I do hope that this is something that we don't forget and we carry on through.
Final words for you, Halima. Community and family, how important is that to Kibsons?
Oh, massive. The community and family are two very, very big words all around us, almost like part of our logo. And, behind the scenes in any business, there are humans and families, right? So we are already part of communities, and extending out and being part of the community from a business perspective just gives you a little bit more reach and a little bit more capacity to be able to have that impact or positive impact. So, people. We didn't have, the kind of budgets probably Noon has to put yellow everywhere. And then people later on after 3 years said to me, oh, I see blue Kibsons everywhere. What a great strategy. And I would say to my close circle of friends, it wasn't a business strategy as much as it was my passion to connect with this sporting kids community and stop them from eating junk to refuel in the middle of their sporting events. And that's how I reached out to school and said, can we give bananas and mandarins? And I have 3 kids who are heavily into sporting. They represent Australian junior squash. So we had a whole lifestyle to nutrition and rest and recovery, what have you. But and here we are, a family behind the business, sitting on fresh, healthy eating. Actually, the healthy eating made easy, the banner at Kibsons began because I remember having a conversation at Dubai College and saying, I want to connect with the kids community as such. And so I don't want kids to see the Kibsons logo every day. What does it mean to them after all anyway? We want to put something that the kids would read and would go down deep into their subconscious memory. One day they grow up, they remember, they think about it. And that's how Healthy Eating Made Easy was born, actually. That's how passionate we are about community and adding that value. Even, for instance, our sustainability programs are made sure because we are trying to save not just the community, but the planet on which this community lives. So it's important to think about no plastic. It wasn't a marketing drive. It was about those things that we are going to do things right. And when I say right, it means not just right for our business, but right for the families and for the communities out there, including the planet, which I also feel is part of our extended community, isn't it, after all? So yeah, everything around us, every little decision we make in Kibsons is based on that family. And if you look at the Sainsbury's launch, it's again reaching out to make so much more, to add value to the community. Our prices are, I hope, reflecting that we could have done it differently, because there was no such benchmark, right? And there are so many products where people would have noticed. So again, in whichever way you can. There are so many ways to reach out to that community.
Brilliant. Thanks, Halima. Tash, I feel like we need a colour. Ellen's got yellow, Halima's got blue. I think I need a colour. But I want to close this. Yeah, I want to close this session and say that. So that's it for the session of our SME Forum from Arabian Business. I want to thank everybody who's tuned in today, and it only falls on me now to thank my panelists, Halima, Ellen, and Tash. Great insights today, and I hope our audience find this conversation as interesting as I found it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.